Hi, Clinton. Hi, Patrick. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you, Lucrecia?
Yeah, well, very excited about the next program that MWS is promoting that offers this very different and unique camp, no? So, what is the highlight of the program?
Okay, so before we start talking about what Next Step is as a program, we always like to start by talking about what it's not. So, Next Step is not a language camp program. So, in that sense, it's different from the other programs that we offer. There are no language classes of English or French. Everything is conducted fully in English, the seminars, the workshops, the excursions. And so, for that reason, it's really important that the participants have a solid understanding of English because everything is done in English. The vast majority of the participants in this program are native English speakers from Canada and from the US. So they'll be immersed with other native speakers as well as students from all over the world.
Yeah, super. So, it's for native speakers and students that have a high level of English.
Yeah, Lucrecia, we're thinking, B2 is kind of a marker in general
Uh-huh.
because, again, to give you a sense, when the presentations are done by our team, who, whether it's professional finance assistants or psychologists for the Get Well sessions, it's all done in English. So you have to have
Mhm.
a good understanding.
Mhm.
There's really no time for translation or for somebody to study and improve on the language ability.
Mhm.
They have to have a good foundation of English in order to attend the program and to benefit from the program. The most important part, to actually benefit from the experience, no?
Of course. And the the program is targeted for students who are 15 years and over, no? So,
Exactly. So the students should be 15 years old by the end of 2025. So they could be 14 turning 15 as long as they turn 15 in 2025. So,
and
yeah.
so it would be, what is the maximum age that you would take?
So the maximum age is technically 17 years old. If there's this participant who's particularly interested in their 18, then we can make exceptions for that as well. But the in general, the age range is from 15 to 17.
Mhm.
And
So,
just to add to that, we know we will have some 18-year-old students in the program because we always do from certain international markets. The
mhm,
other thing to maybe add to this is that the program is designed for somebody who is still in high school before they take that next step to
mhm.
become more independent and possibly go away for university. So it again targets the ages that Quentin was talking about. Sophomore, junior, senior years potentially. But while they are still in high school in preparation for university.
And I see it focuses on five areas, no? Like personal development, financial education,
Exactly.
skills to run the home, healthy life, and professional development.
Exactly, Lucrecia, you're getting a little ahead of me. We're going to get to that in just a few slides. If you can be patient and just bear with us. Okay?
Yes.
Perfect. So, the program is a 2 week program. It's 2 week program, so with 1 week in Toronto, another week in Montreal. So as we were discussing, the idea is that the participants all arrive in Toronto, spend 1 week there, then we transfer from Toronto to Montreal by coach bus or by train. We spend a week in Montreal, and then the participants fly out of Montreal. So the idea is to arrive in Toronto at the Toronto airport and to fly out of Montreal. Now, if for whatever reason a student needs to arrive to Toronto and also depart from Toronto, we can offer a transfer back to Toronto for an extra fee. But ideally, they would be arriving in Toronto and leaving out of Montreal for convenience
Mhm.
sake. So one of the really nice things about this program is that students get to see 2 cities in 2 weeks. And so Toronto and Montreal are 2 cities that are very different. They're both very exciting cities, but Toronto's more of a typical big North American city, while Montreal has a little bit more of that European influence. So both with the French language, with the architecture, and with a lot of the cultural events that are going on throughout the summer. So it's nice because they get to get a little taste of both cities. What is the goal of Next Step? Next Step, our goal is to prepare students who are getting ready for that next step of their life. So, as Patrick mentioned, whether that be the senior years of high school, going away to university, moving away from home for the first time, getting your first job. So, our goal is that by the end of the program, all of the participants have developed their confidence, they've developed their leadership skills, they've improved their responsibility and their self-awareness to prepare them for what's next in their life.
How can, be sure that in only 2 weeks, which is really not a lot of time, students can upgrade themselves so much that they become confident, and so forth. It's a lot of things.
Absolutely. It's a great question, Lucrecia. So it is a 2-week program, you're right. So um, it's not that the students are going to come in and they're going to see our financial literacy seminars and workshops and all of a sudden be able to open their own business. That's not the idea, of course. With 2 weeks, you're limited in what you can do. But the idea is that it's an intensive program and that it gives them a taste of kind of what that post-secondary life is like. So they're living in the university residences, they're eating in the university dining halls. They're having to deal with all these things, not only in the seminars, but also in the workshops where they have to put these things into practice. So it's giving them a bit of a taste of reality and preparing them for this next step of their life.
And maybe I'll just add to that as well. Lucas, as you'll see coming up in the schedule is designed in a way that it's a building block. So ultimately, the first focus when the students arrive is on self-awareness. The idea that you need to get to know a little bit more about yourself, what your strengths are, what areas you need to improve and work on before you can move forward to other topics like financial dependency or personal development and so on. So it's designed in a way to lead you forward one step at a time, and it's like a building block. You're building one on top of the second.
Perfect. And so now we come to Lucrecia, what you were asking about with the 5 pillars. So all of this, our programming is based on the 5 pillars of next step. So we're going to go into a little bit of detail about each one here. And then next, we're going to see how we put those into a typical day and into the schedule of the program overall. So the first pillar that we see here is personal development. So this is, as Patrick mentioned, in order to be able to work with others, you have to first know who you are as a person, to know your role in the group. Leadership styles, this is things like body language. So being able to pick up on certain things in a situation that are visual clues, not necessarily what someone is saying. So that's personal development. Then we have healthy living. So from first aid training to social media, stress management. This is where we have, for this pillar, certified psychologists come in to lead a seminar with the students. A certified psychologist who has experience with teenagers with mental health issues. So they're experts in these fields who are coming to talk to them about these very relevant things for them.
Yes, Quinton, if I may ask, no? So the personal development and healthy living content is developed by specialized psychologists.
The healthy living portion is the topics of the seminars that are based around mental health are led by a certified psychologist. So you'll see that for each of these pillars, we have various guest speakers and experts who are leading these seminars. So financial literacy, for example, we have a certified financial planner who comes from one of Canada's top banks to come in and talk to them about different financial terms and things like that. So in each pillar, there's different experts who kind of come in and lead these seminars. So next we have professional development. So professional development is, of course, putting your best foot forward. It's serving yourself on a platter, in a sense. Telling someone why you are the best person for that role. So that could be for a job interview, it could be for university applications, maybe a volunteer position. It's all about preparing them for that professional aspect of their lives. Next, we have home skills. So I remember, for example, my first year of university, my roommates didn't know a lot about home skills at all. They didn't know how to cook anything. They were going home every weekend with bags of laundry for their mom to do. So it sounds kind of silly, but this is something that we know nowadays. Young people are going away to live on their own and they don't have these basic skills. So it's something that's really important when you are going to onto that next step of your life. This is one of my favorite of the pillars. It's the workshops and everything for this are a lot of fun, and it's fun to see people kind of learning these things for the first time. And last but
Maria Kondo is the teacher, no?
sorry, what did you say?
Maria Kondo is the teacher.
Oh, exactly. There you go. She's our guest speaker for that one. You spoiled the surprise. Good. And so now, last but not least, we have financial literacy. So similar to home skills, we know that nowadays a lot of people are going away to university, they're getting their first apartment, and they don't have these kind of basic financial knowledge that they need to succeed. So this is where, as I mentioned before, we have a certified financial planner come to lead these seminars with the participants. Any questions about it?
All the 5 pillars are seen in both weeks, or is, one subject area one day and then that's it? Or you review it in the second week?
So, Patrick, were you going to say something?
I was going to say, wow, Lucas is jumping ahead of the game again. Yeah, you'll see in a second, Lucas. Sorry to tease you on this, but there are actually 2 full days for each topic. One day in Toronto, one day in Montreal. Quentin will show you that in a moment. So that it's not just one day, it's the ability to follow up and continue on with that specific pillar in a different city.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also important to note that yes, we have these 5 pillars, but in many ways they're overlapping. So financial literacy is related to professional development. Professional development is related to personal development. So it's a lot of kind of overlap as well within the 5 pillars.
Sure.
So now we'll see how these 5 pillars tie into a typical day of next step. So after breakfast, we have seminars. So seminars are where, as I mentioned before, where we have the guest speakers come in to lead the more theoretical aspect of the day. So this seminar is Breaking the Piggy Bank. So it's obviously related to financial literacy. So this is where we would have the certified financial planner to come and teach them about these different terms. So those are the seminars. Now, after lunch, later that day, you'll see that we have a workshop which is related to the seminar. So the workshop is where the participants have to put in practice what they've learned, all the theoretical knowledge from the seminar. So they're putting it into practice in a more dynamic way and having to actually do these things, make these decisions on their own. So this one workshop is Life Role Play for Today. So it's based on the board game, the Game of Life. And so it's a more dynamic, expanded version where they have to make financial decisions, which have an effect on their life. And so it's a lot of fun to see how they've learned all these things in the seminar, and now they have to actually put it into this kind of game where they can see how much they've really absorbed from that seminar. So each of the days are sort of have a theme. They're linked, the different seminars and workshop each day. And then after the workshop, of course, the later part of the day, normally we have the excursions. So of course, we have a week in Toronto and a week in Montreal. So we want to take advantage of that and get a taste of the different sites and activities that they have to offer in each city.
Just 1 second. ¿Puedes cerrar la ventana, por favor? The excursions, this is like, like a sample day. So every day there are excursions, or it's like every other day, or?
Great question. So yes, every day there are excursions. You'll see here the excursions are in green. The seminars here are red and the workshops in blue. So this is week 1 in Toronto. We'll let you have a look at it, and then we'll move to week 2 in Montreal as well.
Yeah, so it's everyday excursions. And how do you go to the excursions? Do you take public transportation, or
Yes,
the
so
school provides a bus or a
so it
coach or
depends on the
something?
excursion. So for example, here we see on Thursday we have the Blue Jays game. So the Blue Jays game will use public transportation to go there. Some places we walk to do different things. And then on the full day excursions, so the Wednesday excursions, we go by coach bus. So here this Wednesday we go to Niagara Falls. We have our own coach bus to go to Niagara Falls there.
Look, I say one of the great things about the program is the location as well, as I think Quinton will touch on shortly. The location for the program is the University of Toronto in Toronto and McGill University in Montreal. Both are very centrally located in the heart of the city, but surrounded by parks and away from the street. So it's a very quiet and safe place. We've been running programs there for over 40 years now. And it's also great because it's very close to everything. So as Quentin said, we actually can walk to a lot of these excursions. And if we don't walk, we'll take public transit. So it makes everything accessible. It's easy for us. Every single day, at least once, as you see, we'll leave the campus so that the students get a better idea of what Toronto and what Montreal are all about.
So I'll move on now to week 2, just so you can have a look and let us know if you have any more questions about the schedule or anything.
And you can see how, for example, in week 2 on the Mondays, the theme again is financial literacy. So we've had the financial literacy in Toronto on the Monday, and we have a different topic dealing with financial literacy in Montreal on the Monday.
Perfect. Am I good to move on from the schedule?
Yep.
Okay, so the next step team. The next step team can be divided into 2 different parts. So I've mentioned it a couple of times now. We have the seminar and the workshop delivery team. So those are those certified guest speakers who are leading the seminars. And then we have the next step director and the next step program leaders. So the leaders are university students who have experience working with young people, but perhaps more importantly, they have this hands-on experience of living through all these different challenges that Next Step addresses. So they've had to learn sometimes the hard way about professional development, about financial literacy, what it's like to go away from home for the first time. And so this is really nice because it allows the leaders to act almost as like big brothers and sisters to the participants. And so they find that they can relate to them a lot because the participants are thinking about post-secondary education. So they can ask them what it's like, and they kind of have that experience and that they can talk to them about. So meals and accommodation, as Patrick said, in Toronto, we're at the University of Toronto. McGill, we're at McGill in Montreal, we're at McGill University. And all of the dining halls and residences that we use are the same ones that we use for our language camps, but separate. So the next step participants are in a separate area. They're not together mixed in with the English or the French camp participants, but we use the same facilities. So in Montreal, that's single room accommodation. In Toronto, we have both single and double room accommodation. You can see here in this picture the dining hall in Toronto. Incredible dining hall. We call it the Hogwarts room. It feels like you're stepping into Harry Potter when you go to eat there. Some really nice food. And then this is Douglas Hall. So this is the residence building that we use in Montreal.
Okay, so the students, they don't mix, the language camp students with these next step students.
Exactly. There's very little overlap. So they're in the same location. They'll be, for example, in this dining hall together at the same time, but they don't mix to do all of the activities and excursions and things like that. Any questions about meals and accommodation at all?
Well, I hope the food is good, no?
It is, and it's
Well, normally it is difficult, to be up to our level, no? Peruvian food is
As we experienced on our visit, I think I'll vouch for it. I'm sure Quentin will as well. Maybe also to point out, one of the neat things about the program is that not all the meals are in the dining room, because I see a lot of times we'll go to restaurants in Montreal or Toronto. And for example, on the full day excursion to Quebec City from Montreal, which is a great experience in itself, students will go and eat in local restaurants. So they have a chance to kind of experience not just the dining hall, but local independent run restaurants where interesting food is presented.
super.
great. So here we have some pictures of some of the excursions that we do. One of my favorites, the Toronto Boat Cruise. You can see the city skyline. The Blue Jays game is always a big hit, very fun and exciting. Montreal has a ton of different festivals that happen throughout the summer, which is always nice. We always take advantage of that. And then we have our 2 full-day excursions. So for next step, we've picked 2 of our most popular, most exciting full-day excursions, which is Quebec City and Niagara Falls. So it's really nice that it's a 2-week program. You get to see 2 cities, but then you also get to go and explore more places. Quebec City and Niagara Falls, so seeing a little bit more of Canada as well. So just like all of our programs, everything is included. Medical insurance, airport transfers, accommodation and meals, first aid certification. I'm not sure if we talked about it, but that's included as well. We have a certified first aid instructor to come and lead the course, and they have an exam and receive their certification. All of these things are included in the program.
So now, we should briefly go through the process of enrollment. So, well, I've seen that there is a form to fill out. That's called the medical form, but it's, it's a full form. And then, we send you the form, and then you send the invoice on that, no? So, and then the person has to apply for a Canadian visa. So, do you know if people who have an American visa, they can, make it in a quicker time? Is it shorter? Is it easier if you have an American visa in your passport?
Maybe I'll touch on that. So generally, when it comes to applying for a Canadian visa, if you do have a US visa, it does help the process. It does speed it up because you've gone through a lot in order to get a US visa. So it certainly is a plus. So we have a pretty good rapport with the Canadian Embassy. We visited it when we recently saw you. They're aware of us. They know who we are, our programs. And when a student registers for the program and initially pays the deposit, we issue a letter of confirmation, which is addressed to the embassy. And the letter itself has the name of the student, the date of birth, etc. And it's something you would use when you're applying for the visa. Again, we have been around since 1983, so we're a very well-established organization. We welcome thousands of students from all over the world every year. So the embassies and the government offices know who we are. It helps to speed up the process. But you don't want to leave this until the last minute. So you certainly want to make sure you have enough time to apply for the visa in question. So,
Yeah.
and
Do you know how many weeks it's taken lately?
So when we were in Lima in November and met with the officers, the commission officers, it really depends on the number of applications. But our understanding was that the Canadian government has made a real focus on making the visa application process as simple as possible for Peruvians, especially for programs like ours. It's just a standard visa. There's no special visa required for this. It's a short-term tourist stay, and so it's the simplest of all visas to apply for. So we could find out for you to give you an exact answer, but I think you should always budget 4 to 6 weeks as a safe kind of, period. Arguably even less sometimes, but so the other thing to point out, maybe Quentin can touch on, is the pre and post onboarding for the program. It's kind of a little added touch to help somebody prepare for what they're coming to.
What's this?
Absolutely.
Please.
Absolutely. So for next step participants, we have both a pre and a post program kind of onboarding and offboarding. So that's a one-on-one meeting with one of our directors to touch base with them, to see kind of what their goals are in the program, what they're hoping to get out of it, and answer any questions that they might have. So this is to kind of prepare them, set them on the right track before they actually arrive at the program. And then shortly after the program, we have the same thing, to touch base and catch up on how their experience has been after leaving the program and going back and thinking about how they're going to put those skills that they have used into practice in the next steps of their lives, basically.
So you were asking, you kind of commented earlier, Lucas, about a 2-week program being very short for so much information. The onboarding and offboarding is kind of a way to help with that, so that we actually learn a little bit more about the student before they even arrive. and they learn more about us. So there's a handbook which students receive to help them prepare for the trip. Things like packing schedule, typical days, the rules, emergency contact information, the basic information to help prepare. But also after the fact, students have a chance that, if they need some more information or some more guidance or more ideas about a particular topic, they can reach out, whether it's to us or, one of the nice things about the program, Chris, is that it's a very personalized program. So you develop a lot of very close friendships in a short period of time with other students the same age from around the world, but mostly from Canada and the US. And you can reach out to each other for more ideas, more conversations. So it's kind of an ongoing. The idea here is that it doesn't end after 2 weeks. It's the opening of a new friendship and new contacts that you can develop and keep in touch with for many years to come.
Excellent. I think it is a very interesting program, for students that are going to go out of their parents' home, after finishing school, so they can, prepare also, psychologically and be conscious that, changes are coming and that this program can offer ideas, on how to upscale themselves to be more independent.
Absolutely. It's kind of as you mentioned, it's like it's planting a seed and a foundation for them to build on and grow, because it really is a period of someone's life where there's so many changes happening all in such a short period of time, and all of a sudden you're expected to be able to make these decisions and do all these things on your own, when many times they haven't had to make or do any of those decisions on their own. So it's kind of a very fast transition that we're trying to prepare them for.
Super. Okay, I wanted to thank you both, Patrick, Quinton, for giving me this opportunity so I can share the information with the Escuelas del Mundo students in Peru and through our social media. Thank
Great.
you so much for your time. Very interesting.